Good evening to you all. I would like to ask all those who are yet to take their seats to do so. The procession has started, and I would also like to inform you that if you need to use the washroom, please note that the female washroom is to my right and the male washroom is to my left. You can see any of the ushers in case you need any assistance, and they would help you. Thank you. The ushers are in black with University of Ghana scarves around their necks. I'll kindly ask that we all rise for the procession. Please sit. Good evening to you all. Good evening to you all. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the Great Hall of the University of Ghana. We also want to acknowledge all those who have joined us online. This evening, we have another opportunity to celebrate a member of our university community who has risen through the various ranks in the academic ladder and attained full professorship. Professor Ernest Kenu, Head of the Department of Epidemiology and Disease Control at the School of Public Health, will take us on a journey of his many years of research through this evening's inaugural lecture on the topic, Disease Smuggling, the Unseen Cargo in Global Health Security, Lessons from Cholera and COVID-19 in Ghana. I shall now invite the Registrar of the University of Ghana, Mrs. Emile J. Mensah, to deliver introductory remarks and to introduce to us the chairperson for this evening's lecture. Please let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Ms. Songsori. Vice-Chancellor, Pro-Vice-Chancellors, Provost of the College of Health Sciences, and other officials from the University of Ghana, members of convocation, students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all. Welcome to the Great Hall of the University of Ghana. And we also acknowledge all of those joining us online. We are delighted that you are all able to join us for this evening's inaugural lecture to be delivered by Professor Ernest Kenu, a professor of medical epidemiology and head of the Department of Epidemiology and Disease Control at the School of Public Health. Inaugural lectures are a significant tradition and part of the university's calendar, and every academic who rises to the rank of professor is expected to deliver an inaugural lecture. This offers the university the opportunity to recognize and showcase the academic achievements of its faculty, and also enables professors to share their research with colleagues within and outside the university, and to celebrate this important milestone with their family and friends. I'm pleased to introduce the chairperson for today's inaugural lecture. Our chairperson is Professor Nanaba Amfu, the first female vice-chancellor of the University of Ghana. She's a professor of linguistics, an accomplished administrator, and brings over 2 decades of experience in the higher education sector. Within the University of Ghana, she has held several key leadership positions, including Pro-Vice-Chancellor in charge of academic and student affairs, founding dean of the School of Languages, and head of the Department of Linguistics. As Vice-Chancellor, she is championing the integration of technology across the university's operations while ensuring that people remain at the heart of the university's mission. Professor Amfu has received numerous accolades for her contributions to education, leadership, and the empowerment of women. She has recently been appointed chair of the Worldwide Universities Network. She's chair of the Council of the Association of Commonwealth Universities and is the Association of African Universities Ambassador for Gender Equity and Social Inclusion. She is the founding president of the African Humanities Association and also president of the International Federation for Modern Languages and Literatures. Additionally, she serves as vice chair on the board of the African Research Universities Alliance, ARUA. She's a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences and an active member of many more esteemed academic and professional organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Nanaba Amfu, who is chairperson for this evening's lecture.
Thank you, Madam Registrar, Pro-Vice Chancellors, Registrar, Provosts, particularly Provost of the College of Health Sciences, Deans, Directors, Heads of Department, our distinguished lecturer, Professor Ernest Kenu, faculty staff and members of convocation, past and present senior officers of the university, alumni and students, family, friends, and associates of the lecturer, specially invited guests from the health sector, our esteemed traditional rulers, and today we have you here in your numbers. Eminent clergy, the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and a warm welcome once again to this evening's inaugural lecture. This evening we celebrate the academic journey of a distinguished scholar, as well as the power of research to expose hidden threats and protect society. It is therefore fitting that we gather at a time when the University of Ghana continues to distinguish itself globally, having recently been ranked first in Ghana and first in West Africa in the QS World University Rankings 2027. This recognition reflects the work of our researchers and scholars, including the inaugural lecturer before us today, whose scholarship addresses urgent local and continental challenges while contributing to global knowledge and health security. Inaugural lecturers hold a special place in the life of a university. There are ceremonies marking the attainment of the rank of professor, but more than that, they are platforms for reflection, engagement, and knowledge sharing. They align strongly with the university's second strategic priority, which is impactful research, by giving our scholars the opportunity to share evidence that can shape policy, strengthen institutions, and contribute to national development. In a world facing complex public health threats, such platforms remind us that universities must remain at the forefront of generating knowledge that informs policy, shapes practice, and improves lives. Today's lecture, Disease Smuggling, the Unseen Cargo in Global Health Security, Lessons from Cholera and COVID-19 in Ghana, invites us to think deeply about how diseases move silently through our systems, our behaviors, and our environments. The abstract shows clearly that disease transmission is not only a border issue, but also a system failure, one linked to unsafe water, poor sanitation, weak surveillance, delayed diagnosis, and overwhelmed treatment centers. It asks an important question. How do we stop the unseen cargo before it becomes an outbreak? A central message of the abstract is the importance of hand washing and hygiene. It reminds us that hand washing with soap and running water, one of the most cost-effective public health interventions available, breaks the chain of transmission for many diseases. The relevance of this scholarship extends far beyond Ghana. Across Africa and beyond, countries continue to grapple with infectious disease outbreaks, including the resurgence of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The ideas shared in this lecture therefore contribute not only to disease control, but also to health system strengthening, policy reform, and regional resilience. The University of Ghana remains committed to scholarship that addresses societal challenges and informs public policy. The work we celebrate today demonstrates how rigorous research can shape practice, influence decision-making, and contribute to healthier, safer, and more resilient societies. Before I take my seat for the lecturer to mount the podium, permit me to attempt an abridged version of his profile. Please make time and read the full profile in the brochure. Professor Ernest Kenu is a professor of medical epidemiology, and he's the head of the Department of Epidemiology and Disease Control at the University of Ghana School of Public Health. He also serves as Program Director of the Ghana Field Epidemiology and Laboratory Training Program, GFELTP. He's leading national and regional efforts in field epidemiology, workforce development, and global health security. A distinguished public health physician, educator, researcher, and mentor, he has made significant contributions to public health practice, training, and policy development. Professor Kenu attended Labawaleshi Presbyterian School and Presbyterian Boys Secondary School, Legon. He earned a BSc Medical Science and MBCHB from the University of Ghana Medical School, followed by an MPH and PhD in Public Health from the University of Ghana School of Public Health. So you can see that he's been hovering around the Legon, Labawaleshi area all this while. He is a member of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons and a fellow of the African Public Health Association. His professional development includes training in management, career epidemiology, and special epidemiology from institutions including GIMPA, University of California, Los Angeles, the U.S. National Cancer Institute, and the University of Florida. Following his medical training, Professor Kenu served as house officer and medical officer at Kolebu Teaching Hospital before becoming a public health specialist in the fevers unit. He also served as HIV deputy focal person and HIV focal person at the hospital. In 2014, he joined the University of Ghana as a lecturer in the departments of Epidemiology and Disease Control and Medicine and Therapeutics. Professor Kenu's research spans HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, maternal and child health, non-communicable diseases, outbreak investigations, and global health security. His work has addressed HIV/TB co-infection, antiretroviral therapy, adolescent adherence, and chronic disease among people living with HIV. His research has informed policy and practice across Ghana and West Africa. He has authored or co-authored over 240 peer-reviewed publications. Professor Kenu has mobilized over $22 million in research and health systems funding from organizations including CDC, NIH, WHO, USAID, COICA, Global Fund, Gates Foundation, and the list goes on and on and on. Professor Kenu serves as head of Department of Epidemiology and Disease Control and is a member of several university governance bodies. Nationally and internationally, he serves on key public health and HIV/AIDS committees, chairs the African Field Epidemiology Network AFINET board, co-chairs the African Union Health Workforce Task Team, and directs the Ghana Field Epidemiology and Laboratory Training Program. He's also actively involved in leadership within the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. With over a decade of consultancy experience, Professor Kenu has provided technical leadership to organizations including the Global Fund, WHO, UNICEF, ECOWAS, AFINET, and AMREF. Professor Kenu has taught undergraduate and postgraduate courses in epidemiology, surveillance, clinical trials, monitoring and evaluation, etc., etc. He serves as external examiner for the University of Botswana, KNUST, and University of Pretoria. He has mentored over 500 frontline and 120 advanced field epidemiology trainees across West Africa and supervised numerous MPH, MSc, MPhil, and PhD students. Professor Kenu has participated extensively in international and regional conferences as a presenter, moderator, keynote speaker, scientific assessor, and organizer. He has delivered presentations at major global health conferences and has served as scientific chair of GFELTP conferences since 2017. His recognitions include the Edwin Afari Meritorious Leadership Award, the African Institute of Public Health Professionals Meritorious Award, and a presidential citation from the Republic of Korea for International Development Cooperation, among several academic, professional, and church leadership awards. Professor Kenu is a member of several professional bodies, including the Ghana Medical Association, Ghana Epidemiological Society, Ghana Public Health Association, International AIDS Society, American Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene, and the American Public Health Association. Professor Kenu is a committed Christian, a Sunday school teacher, presbyter, and lay preacher in the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. He was raised by his parents, Mr. Kenu Amable and Madam Agbeshi Mensah, together with his stepmother, Madam Cecilia Kuachuachi, and 14 siblings, including his twin sister. He's married to Mrs. Angela Poku Kenu, and they are blessed with 2 daughters, Selikem and Sesime, and several adopted children. Ladies and gentlemen, I therefore invite us to listen attentively as Professor Ernest Kenu shares the insights of years of research and teaching and service in public health as he speaks to the topic, Disease Smuggling, the Unseen Cargo in Global Health Security, Lessons from Cholera and COVID-19 in Ghana. Do enjoy the lecture. Thank you.
Amanfo Lego Krotre ne Akwemu Chidom ni Ankobia Framandom ni Okohine se Omamatina zio Nyoya adie fatano Obra onswa Nonya on Professor Ernest Kenu, epidemiologist, head, epidemiology and disease control, School of Public Health, University of Ghana. And then ye bebe tie onyuma pa Wayama University of Ghana. And you yasafa na. Yesi ye mo ne onyuma pa. Disease mu busumuru. Who not me control disease e you yasafa na. No me confused. Bekeka onsampa ne bi egu yasum. Diente na supemu. Obenfo Professor Ernest Kenu. Any dear ma home swear. Ma home so. Nenati brebre. Ahenewa.
Madam Vice Chancellor, Professor Nana Abba Akia Amfo, Prof Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, Professor Gordon Awandari, Prof. Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation and Development, Professor Felix Ankuma Asante, Provosts, Deans, Directors, Heads of Departments, former Vice Chancellors, and other past senior office holders of UG, Togbuyo, Mamao, Nime, Name, members of convocation, the clergy, family, friends, students, the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I am told that anytime you greet and the response is not that resounding, it means you have to greet again. Good evening. That's it. Thank you. I need such an energy in this evening's lecture. Today, I stand before you not to just deliver an inaugural lecture, but to share a story that has defined my professional life for over 2 decades. A story about what I have come to call disease smuggling, the unseen cargo in global health security. Every single day, Ghana's borders are crossed by more than just people and goods. Something much less visible, yet far more dangerous, slips through unnoticed. Not gold, not fuel, not drugs, not cocoa, pathogens. Disease-causing germs that move silently, invisibly, and without passports. They travel in crowded buses, in contaminated water, in the lungs of asymptomatic travelers, and even within the very system meant to stop them. Today, I will take you on a journey spanning 5 decades of evidence from the 1970 cholera invasion through over 15 distinct recurring outbreaks to the global disruption of COVID-19. I will argue that disease smuggling is not a border patrol problem. It is a system failure. The smuggler is not the problem. The contaminated pipe-borne water is. The unregulated street vendor is. The overwhelmed treatment center that amplifies infection is. The surveillance system that detects the disease too late always carries the blame. But before we embark on this journey, allow me to share how I arrived at this understanding. Let me briefly outline our journey together today. First, I'll share my research journey, how a surgeon's dream was reframed through prevention. Second, I would explain how disease smuggling occurred using cholera and COVID-19 to demonstrate the invisible mechanism of transmission and the potential threats they pose. And lastly, I will address what the health system needs to do to stop them. Very practical, evidence-based interventions that work. And finally, I will offer conclusion and the way forward. But let me leave you with this thought. Do not fear detours, especially for our students, friends, and those who expect life to be a straight line. Sometimes the detour is exactly where your purpose is waiting for you. People open doors, questions change directions, and eventually systems becomes the mission. This is not just my story. It is the story of a health system, a nation, and the invisible war we fight every single day. As you always know, every journey begins somewhere. Mine began at the Department of Child Health in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. I remember my first encounter with clinical research. Thank you, Professor Bamenla Goka, for your amazing leadership and unique way of teaching and mentoring. Professor Obine J, thank you. And my own Dr. One, Dr. Victoria Adabayari. I became known as the malaria doctor, or Dr. Two, a name I wore with pride. I learned from these giants that the patient care and data collection were one duty. As a house officer, I had to leave the amazing team to the special surgical third floor. It was what the theater showed me that changed everything. I had an amazing surgeon. This remarkable surgeon had a unique attitude to work. If surgery must be done, it must be done, irrespective of the hour of the night. All that he will say is, get the patient ready. The next call is, bring the patient over to theater. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Dr. Richard Kisei. At a point, most of the surgeries were due to perforated typhoid fever. From the operating theater, I watched surgeons repair what could have been prevented. I asked the question that redirected my life. Why operate and repair what could have been prevented? Viewers' discretion is strictly advised. I then said, I need to be a doctor who should prevent all this, but also should be able to repair a perforated typhoid fever in case it occurs. As if my thoughts were whispered to the surgeons of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, there was an entrance exams for residency in surgery without any invitation. I was in there. I took the exams, but the final phase of the selection was an interview. My first question was, where are you now? My response, surgical third floor. Then with this surprise on their faces, with all of them, said, as what? I proudly said, as a house officer. Then the surprise came. You don't qualify to be here. Go and come back later. Since I had only few weeks left to complete my housemanship, I quickly planned to move to the district. A turning point. I had an amazing woman, and that one conversation redirected my 2 decades. This remarkable woman who made a huge difference in my life. When I narrated my story, she said, I'll give you a job at the Fevers unit and later get you a scholarship to do masters in publishing care if you stick to the rules of engagement. I responded yes, without knowing what I expected to do. Indeed, the steps of the righteous is directed by the Lord. How can he know his own ways? I was planning for the district, but God had different plans for me. An offer I gladly accepted without asking details. The surgical dream didn't die. It was reframed through prevention. Dr. Phyllis Entry, I echo, the seed you planted is now bearing fruits. Meet the midfielders of the Fevers unit at the time. Dr. Ninote Hansinote, Dr. Joseph Ajete Oliver Kome, and my good self. We were like the Sule Ali Muntari, the Michael Essien, and the Stephen Appiah of the Ghana Black Star at the time. I can assure you, the midfield of our clinical care of patients was solid and very tight. I was surrounded by brilliance. Dr. Adjoy J. in cancer, Dr. Frederick Abrokwa, Professor Nikwe, Reverend Professor Adukwe Hesse, and intermittently, Professor Tope occasionally passes through with new nuggets of HIV care and support from his international assignments. I will soon tell you about the dependable and the formidable coach of this great team. At the School of Public Health, I had the opportunity to meet the amazing mentors, every single one of them. But it was at the School of Public Health that my intellectual architecture of public health career was actually built. Dr. Fred Wurapa, may his soul rest in perfect peace. Emeritus Professor Fred Newton Binker, Professor Colonel Edwin Afari, retired. Professor Kojo Kuram, Dr. Samuel Okosaki, Professor Johnny Japon, and Dr. George Amufa. I was assigned to Dr. George Amufa, the then Director of Public Health. He took me to every meeting. The experience was mind-blowing. Just after my master's in public health, I was invited by Emeritus Professor Fred Binker to continue my career and advance my knowledge. You know, the stubborn twin part of me immediately said no, especially after my salary challenges when I came to do my master's in public health. Professor Fred Binker looked at me, he smiled, and he said, "I know you will come back." Indeed, I came back, as if it's by prophecy. And here is how far God has brought me. I guess he should have been a prophet, and probably his name should be Prophet Emeritus Fred Newton Binker. Thank you very much. But on the hallway, something unique happened. I met this amazing man after I had passed my West Africa College of Physicians and Surgeons before coming to doing my master's in public health. And because holding the scalpel did not leave me, I had this question: what next? After master's in public health. I quickly had the encounter with Odadie Dr. Henry Kofi Edufo, who engaged me on the surgical hallway. And after a brief discussion with his bass voice, he said, "My brother, go to public health to do and stop the preventable damage before it arrives. You don't need only to repair it. Not the death of a clinical medicine, but rather its enlargement." Meet my coach. In fact, her favorite name is Auntie Maggie. She was more than a coach, a mother, a mentor, a principled leader, and her middle name is Excellence. Her push led to a nationwide capacity building in HIV treatment, care, and support. We went everywhere in this country building capacity together with the National AIDS Control Program. At the time, HIV treatment, care, and support was not in the curriculum, and we had to train nurses, pharmacists, lab scientists to provide HIV care. And this was happening in their respective districts and facilities. Doctors were later brought on board, and eventually, HIV care and treatment is within the curriculum now. Auntie Maggie says something very simple but profound. He said, "Write about your patient and document what you do." She pushed me to document, to publish, and to share my knowledge. And the results, over 246 research publications, with 17% of them focused in HIV. Seeing over 18,000 persons living with HIV, and started HIV adolescent clinic. But the more important one was what gave me a stronger trust-based relationship with my patients, a greater honesty when it comes to openness in my patient care, improved clinical judgment, including high index of suspicion, and effective counseling skills. Madam Vice Chancellor, it will amaze you with this skill set. It was not surprising that our patient confide in us before taking any major decision that would affect their health and well-being. On one occasion, I disarmed a patient with fully loaded pistol who called for an urgent discussion in the office one late evening. He said, "I cannot live any longer with this disease, and I cannot do this without informing you. I'm here to thank you for the service you have provided over the years, but I have to go." Based on these skill sets, I managed to disarm him, and today he's alive and doing well. On few occasions, I became a stammerer in my consulting room because the client whose status I was about to disclose could change my sleeping place. If 20 years after I'm like this, you can imagine how I looked 20 years ago. But the countless number of clients and the circumstances surrounding them contracting HIV infection was what gave me the first glimpse of the unseen cargo. Men came in, and interestingly, they had HIV. They never disclosed this to anyone. Spoke with them, and eventually, there was a clear pattern. The bogus will return from abroad, HIV positive, no disclosure, and the stigma was preventing them from even telling the truth because of fear of rejection, and that silences the truth. The partner unknowingly gets exposed. The unseen cargo is transmitted. Disease enters into the system silently, no signal, and this is invisible to the surveillance system. These diseases move where the system cannot see, and I will show you how smuggling occurred using cholera and COVID-19, the potential threat and what these health systems need to do to stop the smuggling. By looking at these two different diseases side by side, we can clearly see how smuggling happens. I must say, our country, Ghana, before cholera, was beautiful, was safe. It had a functional infrastructure. The 1948 Watson Commission documented a system that worked. No recorded cholera pre-1970. The country was safe, but the system was weakening before the disease arrived. In fact, it was because of this rising risk, we realized that open drains got polluted with solid and liquid waste. This led to a risk of fecal contamination in food and water. Then the idea came to the late Professor G.A. Ashiti. He had a fantasy. His fantasy was inspired by the reform that was led by Edwin Chadwick in England. He considered deliberately smuggling cholera into Ghana to probably lead a sanitary reforms in our country. I quote, "Before I left Ghana in 1959 to study medicine, I had observed that although personal cleanliness was a valued asset in our culture, our cities and big towns were quickly developing sanitation problems, which unfortunately did not seem to worry anybody. At the time, the disease cholera was unknown in Ghana and indeed West Africa. Therefore, when as a student I heard how in the early 19th century, cholera was able to invoke the fear of God in Englishmen and women, at a time when their standard of environmental sanitation was similar to that of ours in Ghana, I began to pay attention to this disease and to the sanitary movement that was led by Edwin Chadwick in England during the mid-19th century. Incidentally, Chadwick was a lawyer, not a doctor. The more I thought about this matter, the more I became convinced that nothing short of cholera epidemic will awaken the civic and health authorities out of their slumber. My fantasy and the idea that Ghana needed to be shocked to take sanitation more seriously led me to toy with the idea of smuggling cholera into Ghana from India because it was an endemic at the time there. Unfortunately, Ghana was never shocked, even though cholera arrived. Our civic and health authorities were not awakened from their slumber, and the sanitation seems not to worry anybody. History rendered his experiment unnecessary. In September 1970, a Togolese traveler collapsed at the arrival of Accra International Airport. And this was the first documented cholera case. The airport was the spark, not the source. The real origin was far more unsettling. A fisherman died in Togo. The relatives brought the body back home. The corpse carried Vibro cholera. Undetected, the funeral rites spread across the coastal communities. Since 1970, Ghana has reported over 15 distinct outbreaks of cholera. The disease arrived on its own terms. It was disguised as dignity. Cholera arrived in Ghana in a coffin, not in a car, not in an airplane. Let me show you how exactly the smuggling worked. The body returns. So the fisherman's body returned, and as usual, we started doing the rituals. Family members washed, dressed, and embraced the body. They had no idea they were handling a deadly pathogen. Mourners eat. They were able to drink from communal vessels. The bacteria then spread from hand to food to mouth. Vibro cholera enters wells, food supplies, and the bodies of neighbors. A ritual meant to honor life became the vector for death. This is the tragedy of disease smuggling. The very tradition that binds us together become the pathway for pathogens to spread. This is similar to the Ebola situation in Uganda, where a patient from the Democratic Republic of Congo came to Uganda to seek care, passed away, and the body was taken back to DRC before it was diagnosed that the patient died of Ebola. And now, Uganda has recorded 20 cases of Ebola, and of which 2 have passed away as of 24th of June 2026. Madam Vice Chancellor, this issue that we are talking about, the pattern is not new. This pattern has been occurring in the past. History teaches us same lessons, if only we are willing to learn. In 1847, doctor by name Ignaz Semmelweis was a Hungarian who introduced hand washing, demonstrated that requiring doctors to wash their hands with chlorinated lime before examination could drastically reduce puerperal fever, which was killing pregnant women when they were delivering, from 18% to 1%. The smuggler was not the traveler at the border. It was the doctor's unwashed hand, moving from the dead to the living. Ignaz Semmelweis pleaded with doctors to wash their hands. He was ridiculed. He was dismissed. He died in asylum. And yet, he was right. No wonder we keep saying that the one who brought hygiene was killed by the same. This also happened in 1854. John Snow. John Snow was an English physician who traced the deadly 1854 cholera outbreak in London to a single contaminated water pump on the Broad Street, famously removing its handle to stop the epidemic and pioneering the field of modern epidemiology. He actually marked 500 cholera deaths all around the Broad Street pump. This proved that cholera spread through contaminated water. These men taught us the fundamentals. And yet, more than a century, Ghana confronted the same invisible cargo being smuggled, moving not just through borders, but through the system left vulnerable. Ghana, at one point in time, in 2014, became like Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary was an asymptomatic Irish cook named Mary Mallon. while working in New York in the early 1900s, unknowingly infected at least 51 people with typhoid fever through her cooking, leading her to be forced into isolation for over 2 decades. In 2014, Accra became Typhoid Mary. Ghana recorded one of the largest outbreaks that had ever occurred from cholera. We had over 28,975 cases nationwide. No single region was spared at the time. All the 10 regions had cholera cases. Like Malone in the century earlier, Accra spread cholera without appearing sick. Its travelers carried the disease nationwide. What we found from our study was that 80% of the nationwide index cases all came to Accra. They visited Accra before going back to their respective places. One city, one invisible carrier, one nation infected. But the more troubling one was when our beautiful city had a problem in 2016. The Cape Coast Treatment Center itself became the mechanism of transmission. Visiting the treatment center was associated with 12-fold of the chance of getting cholera. The treatment center became the cholera pump. Without IPC, healers become vectors. And as Semmelweis proved in 1847, probably the ghost of Semmelweis had returned. And this we published in our paper, Protracted Cholera Outbreak in the Central Region. With over decades of our investigation with respect to systems that we have evaluated, the story is the same. Cholera in Ghana has never been a surprise. In fact, it has been a recurring failure of water, sanitation, and urban planning. And the numbers tell them all. We have cumulatively seen over 130,000 cases since 1970, and of which we've had over 2,000 deaths, all from a preventable disease. However, there is hope. There is hope. Hand washing with soap and running water breaks the chain of transmission. Studies conducted shows that we are able to reduce diarrhea illness between 32 to 48% and respiratory illnesses between 20 to 50% just by hand washing. In fact, there is no business that gives a lucrative return on investment like hand washing. With every $1 invested, you will be able to get a $2 return. Unfortunately, our beautiful country is not interested in this business. A small act, a large system return. And then came COVID-19. COVID-19 arrived in Ghana as an unseen cargo, not hidden in boxes, but carried silently in the lungs of travelers. It entered Ghana through travelers from Turkey and Norway. Ghana needed to determine what is the best approach to contain this disease. The response was very swift. Ghana closed its borders. It was clear that we are dealing with a disease that moves when people move. It stops when people stop. And therefore, the lockdown has given us an opportunity to slow down the movement of the disease. Madam Vice Chancellor, Ghana then came up with this 2-kilometer radius approach in detecting COVID. What it means is that for each identified COVID-19 positive case, we voluntarily test all who are within that 2-kilometer radius of the case. And all those who are tested and found to be positive are immediately taken out from the community and sent to treatment center and provided the best of care. All the contacts within the communities were linked with the GIS. This novel 2-kilometer radius approach in contact tracing was based on the fact that we are dealing with a pathogen, and in this case, a virus that is in the lung of the infected individual. And therefore, if you are able to limit the movement of the individuals, you limit the spread of the infection. But why the 2-kilometer radius? The 2-kilometer radius was because our convenience shops, our playing grounds, our churches, our mosques, our hair salons and barbering shops, dressmakers and friends all stay within 2-kilometer radius. And with limited movement confined to this 2-kilometer radius, we have an opportunity to identify or pick those who have the disease early, isolate them, and provide them with the best of care. Madam Vice Chancellor, before the 2-kilometer radius, Ghana was detecting 74 cases per week. But with this novel approach, Ghana was able to detect 299 cases per week. I am glad to say that this novel approach that we are talking about was designed by myself, together with the help of Professor Kezia Sikanate, with a full buy-in of the then Director of Public Health, Dr. Bedusa Akodie, and the Deputy Director of Surveillance, Dr. Franklin Esiedu Bequin. More than 400% rise in case detection. But what my study uncovered was more startling. Madam Vice Chancellor, in the study that we looked at the epidemiology of COVID-19 in Ghana, the epidemiology of COVID-19 in Ghana. But when it became very clear that the non-pharmacological approach to COVID-19 response, which include hand hygiene and wearing of face masks, was the best approach, yes, public health directives were in place, but everyday practice lagged behind. In our study, we observed that 60% of face mask users wore it incorrectly. In fact, you can see from the picture some wearing it below their chin, and others, I can't describe it, but you can see it from the picture in there. And when it came to hand hygiene, it was only 12.3% that observed this in public spaces. So there is a gap between policy and practice, and this became the pathway for the transmission. This we published in the paper that I've just shared up there. But, Madam Vice Chancellor, with the support from Professor Alex Berima Owusu of the Geography Department of University of Ghana, the Ghana Health Service, and our partners, we developed a situation room. This situation room dashboard was visible to the Presidency War Room. From the COVID-19 situation room and the Presidency War Room, the dashboard that was available to His Excellency traced every confirmed case. It provides the details, their movements history, their location in terms of data. The GIS mapping showed where each case was emerging from, where there was clustering and the spread when it came to COVID-19. The situation room turned raw data into a real-time intelligence for our nation. This is public health in action. Evidence-based decision-making at the highest level. But let me tell you this discussion, how the unseen cargo kept moving in 3 different settings: a construction camp, a factory, and a training institution. With all of them, they had index cases, and we were able to trace their contacts. For the construction camp, of the one index case, they had 249 contacts that we identified. Of this, 69 of them became positive. In the factory, of the index case, we had 1,138 contacts. Of this, 695 became positive, purely because they were not adhering to the protocols, and also the results delayed, and the average turnaround time at the time was 10 days. Therefore, a failure to accept a test result led to a high positivity among the contacts. Early diagnosis and stakeholder engagement can improve and also interrupt transmission, but only when the test results arrive quickly and communities cooperate. But there is hope. Something happened in the training institution where we ensure that all the protocols that have been laid down were followed. This was success. There was a clear institutional leadership which was very proactive. I worked closely with the leadership at the time. All the contacts were accommodated and fed. The Ghana Field Epidemiology and Laboratory Training Program residents from Liberia, from Sierra Leone, the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and our favorite country, Ghana, were deployed, and each morning and evening, they carried out symptoms check and temperature monitoring. They ensured that mental and social support were provided throughout their stay. The institution provided hand sanitizers, and Noguchi Memorial Institute of Medical Research was in charge of the sample taking and testing. It was a difficult moment, especially when samples are taken and the results for those who've been quarantined delays. The emotional and mental trauma is indescribable. Our phones were ringing non-stop because those quarantined needed to know their status. Thanks to Professor William Ampofu and the Virology Department of Noguchi Memorial Institute of Medical Research, they ensured that once the results were ready, it was shared for us to be able to do the disclosure. With all these measures in place, Madam Vice Chancellor, I am glad to say that of the 96 contacts, the institution had 0 positive cases recorded. The institution in question is no other institution than my own alma mater, University of Ghana. The institutional leader who I worked on this response closely with was the then Prof Vice Chancellor, Academic and Students Affairs, and now the Vice Chancellor, the chair of this August inaugural lecture, Professor Nana Abba Apia Amfu. Thank you for your leadership. This is what happens when system functions. This is what happens when we invest in people. But this also led to a unique opportunity of ensuring that those that were part of this training, immediately the borders were opened, were deployed to their respective countries to support with their response. Those from Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, and the Gambia, immediately the borders were opened, went back to support based on the experience they have received. But interestingly, the mental torture that our patients went through supported the evidence which led Africa CDC to introduce a mental health component into the FETP training. The psychological support during and after outbreak is now embedded and is part of our standing commitment. I am glad to say that the Ghana Field Epidemiology and Laboratory Training Program is the hub of one of the centers for this training. And we train for English-speaking West Africa countries. We are not just responding to outbreaks. We are building a workforce that can anticipate and prevent them. We knew that now that the borders have been closed, there's the need for us to take an opportunity and see what was happening at the points of entries. With the support from the Global Fund and the National AIDS Control Program, we received resources to undertake COVID-19 surveillance activities at the point of entries during the border closure. The study commenced in September 2021 across 10 approved point of entries across this country. Our assignment was very simple. We should measure active infection at the borders. We should check seroprevalence circulating variants and also measure the border threats. You can see in that picture the Emeritus Professor Fred Binker who was then engaging at a flower border at a radio station, telling them that there's a need for them to cooperate for us to be able to do this work. The result of this was ready by the 21st of March 2022. Of the 4,621 travelers that we screened at the various points of entries, we had 3.7% of them to be positive for COVID. 49% of them had been vaccinated already, but a whopping 93% had COVID-19 antibodies, meaning the threats at the borders were minimal, probably negligible. We made this available to the then Presidential Coordinator of Government Coronavirus Response Program, Dr. Anefi Asamoah. Thank you, Dr. Anefi Asamoah, for ensuring that this result was immediately made available to the presidencies to ensure that it becomes part of the evidence in deciding what next to be done. Yes, finding from our work, when it got there, together with evidence available to the presidency, I quote what the president said. As from tomorrow, Monday, 28th March 2022, all land and sea borders will be opened. Fully vaccinated travelers will be allowed entry through the land and sea borders without negative PCR test result from country of origin. Citizens and foreign residents in Ghana who are not fully vaccinated would have to produce a negative 48-hour PCR test result and will be offered vaccination on arrival. Unquote. This is evidence-based decision-making in action. And this is part of the work that my team together we conducted, and we have published that work as well. Now that the borders are open, we knew that we need to keep an eye on COVID-19, because if we fail to keep an eye on COVID-19, we will have a problem. With the support from the Ghana Health Service Disease Surveillance Department, Noguchi Memorial Institute of Medical Research, and our partners, our project managed to integrate COVID-19 into the existing influenza-like illness surveillance system that was in operation. So when borders reopened, we integrated this. This is a master stroke of efficiency. The integrated system improved efficiency, expanded testing reach, and strengthened respiratory disease surveillance. This is the future of public health. Building system that can adapt to multiple threats. And this we publish in our work. But here comes the unexpected twist. The unexpected twist was about a trial that we started between 2021 and 2023, based on the information that we had received as the principal investigator of this phase 2 clinical trial for a cholera treatment, because this was designed to test a new cholera therapy in the country. We received approval from Noguchi Memorial Institute of Medical Research, from the Ghana Health Service, and also the Food and Drugs Authority. All the sites were prepared. We brought in the investigational drugs from Hungary. But there was a problem. During the entire period, we could not recruit even a single case of cholera, even though we had seen cholera before the study commenced. COVID-19 prevention measures, especially hand washing and improved hygiene, had interrupted the cholera transmission. The very hand washing and hygiene measures that Ghanaians struggled to maintain, as low as they were, had suppressed cholera transmission so effectively that our trial closed without enrolling even a single case. The response to a smuggled cargo and inadvertently killed cholera. But there is hope. Just hand washing. Hand washing is a single most cost-effective health intervention available. In fact, this is at par with immunization. And it's also at par with oral rehydration therapy. It is the single most effective intervention available at an average cost of $3.35 per a disability-adjusted life years averted. And what do we mean by this big word? One disability-adjusted life years represent a loss of equivalent of 1 full year of a healthy life. Poor sanitation costs this country between $290 to $500 million. This is equivalent to 1.6% of our GDP. Why won't our country invest in this venture? Hand washing offers one of the highest health returns for the lowest investment. This is the power of prevention. This is how we stop the disease smuggling. Going forward, we must learn from what Ignaz Semmelweis, John Snow, and Ashite taught us. My team learned this from our research into disease outbreak. The lesson is consistent. The smuggler and his cargo thrive where water remains unsafe, when sanitation remains absent, and the environment is altered, as with Galamsey. And also, political will falters. The next smuggler is already on his way with his beautiful cargo. The next cargo will arrive through people, animals, environment, and movement. It could be an antimicrobial resistant cholera, an old pathogen, or a new resistant one. It could be a novel coronavirus, or an old foe Ebola, or any other viral hemorrhagic fevers. It could come from a region or a cross-border risk. It could be a hantavirus or any unknown pathogen coming from the forest or an ecological threat. It could even be a climate-sensitive outbreak from rainfall, flooding, and displacement. Ghana cannot build walls high enough to keep them out, but it can build a system that is smart enough to stop them early. The smart system that we need to build, these include: 1, workforce training across the 3 tiers. We believe that when we build capacity in field epidemiology and laboratory training program, this is a competent workforce. It will help us train them and also deploy them to help us in responding to outbreaks and emergencies. FETP is where theory of health security meets reality of the field. We then develop what we call the FETP Nexus with the support from COICA and CDC. This Nexus is an interactive application where you can now search by region, by specialty, by availability, mobilize trained field epidemiologists within hours, and ensure that they can respond to outbreaks. In the history of our country, this is the first time we have a public health workforce that have this capability. The value of FETP is not only in the training of people, it is knowing how to deploy them when Ghana needs them most. This Nexus was launched in December 2025 by the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, US CDC, COICA, FDA, AFINET, and our partners. We believe strongly that the speed of response determines the outcome. If we are able to respond early, we can contain the problem and reduce the catastrophe. However, if we should respond late, it requires that we run into a problem. The second thing that we believe we should do is a functional public health emergency operation centers. I'm glad to say that with the support of US CDC, COICA, Ministry of Health, and Ghana Health Service, I led the development and the establishment of 4 regional public health emergency operation centers in this country. I'm glad that all of them are functional, and this has provided surveillance space, risk assessment, and coordination to help in rapid decision making. And also, this is where coordination happens, and this helps us to save lives. The third thing from our study, which we have proved that disease smuggling continues when results arrives late. And therefore, we need to have a decentralized laboratory capacity in every region. In every region, we should have a clear diagnostic pathway per that region. Specimen transport well mapped ahead of time. We should have a rapid turnaround time of our track, which is being tracked as an indicator. And more importantly, we should link all our lab data to the Public Health Emergency Operation Center's dashboard. We believe that when the test result delays, the smuggled goods will keep moving, and that we want to prevent. We need to train every community member to become the first eye and ear in surveillance, because disease detection begins where people live, they work, they eat, they travel, and worship. We need to train teachers, market women, fishermen, drivers, religious leaders, youth, community health workers, and food vendors. We need to ensure that every citizen becomes a sentinel, every community a surveillance system. We need to build a system that is smart enough to be able to stop the next smuggler. How do we do this? We believe strongly that we need to regulate the food vendors. We need to set standards, annual licensing, routine inspection, because the market woman is a frontline health worker. We need to mandate IPC in all treatment centers to prevent what happened in 2016 in Cape Coast, where visiting the center increases your risk of becoming a cholera patient. And also ensure that we carry out IPC audits with real consequences. We need to integrate digital surveillance, link our DHIS to the ILI Sentinel surveillance that we have, SORMAS, Public Health Emergency Operation Centers alerts, and community report into one real-time dashboard with automatic signal detection. We also need to reintroduce hand washing at a scale. We need to mandate hand washing at certain stations, particularly in schools, in markets, transport terminals, and health facilities. The trial that we carried out proved that this works. The future direction. The next phase is to move from response to anticipation, thus envisioning the future. We need to move from detecting outbreaks late to predicting where the unseen cargo may emerge next. We need to use artificial intelligence that will combine with surveillance, climate mobility, laboratory, and community signals. We need to ensure that we develop early warning models for cholera, COVID-19, antimicrobial resistance threats, and any other emerging pathogen. We need to strengthen the real-time decision-making through dashboards, risk maps, and automated alerts. We need to learn how to support faster deployment of the field epidemiology and lab training program residents, lab experts, public health emergency operation centers, and also rapid response teams. Because if we don't build a system that catches the unseen cargo before it becomes an outbreak, then we are not ready. The future health security means detecting the patterns before they become an outbreak. This is the future, and this is what we are building now. This therefore says that there is a call to action. And this call to action is basically saying that we need to honor the past by fixing the present. Disease smuggling will not stop at the end or end at the passport control. It ends where the system begins to function. It ends when every hand is washed, when every leaking pipe is sealed, when every treatment center is IPC safe, when every region has a lab that is ready, when every public health emergency operation center is operational, and every citizen becomes a sentinel. The next smuggled disease is coming. The big question is, will Ghana be ready? Ghana will only be ready if every child, every adolescent, every man, every woman, every minister, every cleaner, every teacher, every member of parliament, every student, every driver, every lecturer, every market woman becomes a surveillance officer and a disease detective to report any unusual event to the right authorities. If you see something, if you hear something, you must say something. Thank you. I am here because of the shoulders that I'm standing upon. The gallant man who has given me the opportunity to learn and to be able to open my eyes to see beyond my immediate environment. And I thank all of them. Because being a product of mentorship, I have all these who are working with me. All that I talked about today was because of the collective work from all these members. I know some cannot see their faces very well. Next time, I'll make it bigger so you can see. I want to thank Professor Richard Adano. Professor Adano was the one who gave me my first link to my Michigan team. And interestingly, that team I'm still working with. I want to thank Lizzie Peacock, a partner from Norway, and the Norwegian team. Thank you very much. I want to thank Seth Judson from UCLA and thank Professor David Dowdy and Professor Lee. Professor Dowdy is from Johns Hopkins and Prof. Lee Schroeder is from Michigan. Thank you for your partnership, and we have come this far because of our collective effort and working together. I can't end this presentation without thanking my CDC partners. Dr. Chastity Walker, an amazing person. We famously call her C. Walker. I know you're watching, and thank you for the great work and the support that you always give to us. Dr. Daniel Baradas, the CDC country director, thank you for your support. I can't end without thanking Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaji, the former Director General of the Ghana Health Service, and the current Director General, Dr. Samuel Kaba Akorie. The program that I talked about is a Ministry of Health program domiciled in the university for the purposes of sustainability. And this was the vision of the leaders who handed over the program to me. And for all these years, the program is running. Thank you. I want to thank the university for the opportunity, my Vice Chancellor, and the leadership of the university. Thank you for the opportunity given to me. My Provost of the College of Health Sciences. You know it already. I can't say everything, but thank you. My Dean, I can't mention the word here. The way we do it our own way. Thank you, Professor Tope, for your guidance and your support. My department and the Ghana Field Epidemiology and Laboratory Training Program, AFINIT. My chiefs, I cannot thank you enough. I thank every single one of you. My partners, you are amazing. CDC, WHO, Africa CDC, Ghana Health Service Ministry of Health, FAO, EDTCP, PMI, NIPH, FELANG, FAO, Global Fund, Affinet, the Pandemic Fund, and Palladium. You've all been amazing. Today is a special day, and I want to thank my family, my extended family. Thank you. I know you sacrificed a lot, and this is how far God has brought me. I call today Ebenezer. For those of you who are Bible scholars, someone picked a stone and placed it between Shen and Mizpah. And he said, this stone shall be called Ebenezer. This is how far God has brought us. And this is how far God has brought me, and I'm grateful to him. My mother said she has never been to the classroom. She doesn't know how to read and write. But she will give me everything that it will take her to enable me to read and write. Mom, thank you. She is my prayer warrior. Thank you. Today's date is 25th of June, the year of our Lord 2026. 21 years ago, I asked a young lady to help me, to guide me, and help me to know how to dress. Vice Chancellor, permit me to renew my vow today. And for the past 21 years, she's given me absolute peace. Because if it had not been for her, I can't do all that I talked about. Thank you. I tried to buy peace on the market, but I noticed that it was not available. But with her, I have that absolute peace. And that is the reason why we have come this far. My adopted children and the two little angels, thank you very much. You know it is God who has done it. Thank you, and God richly bless you all.
So thank you very much. I know some of us wanted to give a standing ovation, but we're not sure whether we should. Please feel free, and let's give our lecturer another round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please take your seats. So I'd like to thank you, Professor Kenu, for sharing with us your years of research, and especially for reminding us about the various ways through which diseases are smuggled into our country and communities. Prof. Kenu has given us a lot of food for thought, and I'm sure that moving forward, when we all travel around, we'll travel with increased awareness and caution, understanding that we could easily or unknowingly contribute to the spread of diseases. So thank you very much once again, Prof, for delivering this lecture. At this juncture, I would like to invite all of you to relax and enjoy a performance from the Ghana Dance Ensemble. This evening, the Ghana Dance Ensemble is performing the Bobobo Dance, which is a recreational dance and musical genre created in the 1940s and 1950s by the Ewe people of the Volta region and southern Togo, and it's performed during social gatherings to celebrate victories. This dance has been selected not only to reflect Professor Kenu's heritage, but also to celebrate him on his attainment of this great feat in academia. So I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the Bobobo dance by the Ghana Dance Ensemble. A round of applause for the Ghana Dance Ensemble. Prof has taught us today that he is not only a seasoned medical epidemiologist, but a great bobobo dancer as well. Please, let's acknowledge him for the beautiful steps he took. Thank you very much, Ghana Dance Ensemble. Permit me to introduce a few people who have joined us this evening. Prof would like to acknowledge the presence of his father who joined online, Mr. Kenu Amable. Please, let's acknowledge him. He's not here with us, but he joined us online. Would also like to acknowledge the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Right Reverend Dr. Abraham Nana Opare Kwachi, who is here with us this evening. In fact, we are joined by many reverend ministers. If we have to mention everyone's name, we won't leave here this evening. So if all the reverend ministers here in the hall, present here in the hall, kindly stand up so that we can acknowledge you. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for supporting Prof this evening. Thank you very much. Would also like to acknowledge His Lordship Justice Henry Kofi of the Supreme Court. If you are here, please let's see you. Thank you very much for being here. And Prof mentioned Dr. Nefia Samuaba, who is a former presidential coordinator of Government Coronavirus Response Program. If you are here, would like to see you as well. Okay. We also like to acknowledge Emeritus Professor Fred Newton Binka, former VC of UHAS and chair of the GHS Council, who joined us this evening. We've also been joined by members of the GHS Council. Can we see you, please, so that we can acknowledge you? Members of the GHS Council, please just stand so that we can acknowledge you. Thank you very much. We also have here members guests from the Ministry of Health. Any guests from the Ministry of Health? Okay. I'm sure they are in the crowd. Yes, okay. We also have representatives from the World Health Organization. I don't know if you are present here or online. We'd like to acknowledge your presence this evening. And members of the Ghana Medical and Dental Council, if you are here, please, can we see you so that we can acknowledge you? Okay. Prof has asked us to mention his life skills and vocational skills and cultural studies and agric and religious studies teacher, who is his primary school teacher. Please, if you are here, Miss Catherine or Christine Covey, can we see you? Miss Christine Covey. Oh, she's over there. Okay. Thank you very much for being here. Another teacher he would like us to recognize is his biology teacher from Presec, Madame Christiana Abankwa. Please, if you are here, let's see you. Okay, there she is. Thank you very much for being here. We've also been joined. I remember VC at the beginning acknowledged the various traditional rulers who have come all the way. In fact, this is one of the largest gathering of traditional rulers we've received at inaugural lectures. We're just wondering whether a Prof has not managed to empty the palaces and the Anglo states this evening, because we are joined by different traditional rulers under the Anglo states, but I'll mention a few of them who we've been asked to acknowledge. We've been joined by Togbe Zewu IV. Please, can we acknowledge you? Thank you very much for making it. Also here with us present is Togbe James Oklu V. Thank you very much. We also have Togbe Kajaho IV. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. We also have Togbe Afla IX. Thank you so much for being here. Mama Wotobe. Mama Wotobe, if you are here, would like to acknowledge you. Thank you so much. Mama Hude III. Mama Hude III, thank you so much for being here. Togbiwo Mama O Agbotaduao. I hope I pronounced it correctly. All from the Volta region. Please, you are all welcome. Can you please kindly, yes, thank you so much for being here this evening. At this juncture, I would like to make some presentations to our inaugural lecturer. And so I'll first of all like to invite forward the College of Health Sciences. Prof is in the School of Public Health, which is in the College of Health Sciences. So College of Health Sciences, please come up and make the first presentation. As this is being done, I would like to ask the School of Public Health, please get ready to make the next presentation. School of Public Health. Okay, let's acknowledge them as they come forward. As School of Public Health comes forward, we would like to ask the Departments of Epidemiology and Disease Control, Medicine and Therapeutics, and the Department of Health Policy Planning and Management, all of the School of Public Health, to please come forward and make your presentation as well. So I think we'll have Prof. Prof, we'll have you step down the stairs so that we can capture. Please kindly step down. Yes, so we can capture everybody. So, Departments of Epidemiology and Disease Control, Medicine and Therapeutics, and Health Policy Planning and Management, please kindly make your presentation to Prof now. As they do this, we would like to invite the African Field Epidemiology Network, AFNET, to get ready to make the next presentation. Thank you. Yes, please. So is AFNET here? Okay. Oh, okay, I think there's... Sorry? Oh, you are taking the picture. Okay. Which group is this? Okay. Is that AFNET? Okay, please go ahead and make your presentation. Please try and come up the stairs so that we can capture all of you. As they do this, we would like the following partners to come together: the Ghana Epidemiological Society, Noguchi, and Felang. Please come forward as they take this photo to do your presentation. Partners, Ghana Epidemiological Society, Noguchi, and Felang, please come forward to make your presentation. Are we done with AFNET? Okay, thank you very much. The next presentation will be by Ghana Epidemiological Society, Noguchi, and Felang. Please, let's come forward and make that presentation. We'll take some more pictures after the lecture, so please, let's do this quickly so that we don't spend a lot of time here. After the lecture, you can make more presentations to the lecturer when we are done. Do we have the Ghana Epidemiological Society here? Yes, please kindly make your presentation. Noguchi and Felang, please also make your presentation. Is Felang here? Okay. Next to make presentation is University of Ghana Medical School 2002 year group. University of Ghana Medical School 2002 year group. Please, if you are here, can we have you up here?
He's the president of the Ghana Epidemiological Society.
Okay, all right. Okay. So I hear Prof is the president of the Ghana Epidemiological Society. Next to do presentations, can we have the University of Ghana Medical School 2002 year group to make your presentation? We'll kindly ask the Presbyterian Church of Ghana to get ready. Presbyterian Church of Ghana and the Oyibi congregation, please get ready to make the next presentation. Thank you very much, UGMS 2002 year group. Can we have the Presbyterian Church of Ghana and the Oyibi congregation, please kindly come forward and make your presentation. As they take the photo, we would like the Odadiers to get ready. Odadier 1993 year group. Please get ready to make your presentation. Thank you very much, Presbyterian Church of Ghana. Odadier and the 1993 year group, please come forward to make your presentation. Oh, okay, so I see the students coming as well. Can we have you up here? Please come up so that we can capture all of you in the photograph. The students who are now coming, please use the stairs at the side so that you can just join your colleagues up here. Thank you very much. A round of applause for Presec, both students and old students of Presbyterian Boys Secondary School. Thank you very much. And for those who are wondering why there's a female among them, there was a time when there were females in Presec. So thank you very much. The next group is, I would like to receive a presentation from Promasidor Ghana Limited, our official beverage sponsors. Promasidor Ghana Limited, our official beverage sponsors for our inaugural lectures for this academic year. Please, let's acknowledge them so that next academic year they will sponsor us again. Promasidor Ghana Limited, producers of cowbell and all the other products under their brand. Promasidor Ghana Limited. Prof, I'd like to bring you back up here to receive your... Prof, please, if you could kindly come back and receive a hamper from Promasidor Ghana Limited, our official beverage sponsors for inaugural lectures. Please, let's acknowledge them. And they will be providing refreshments in the quadrangle for all students here. So please kindly take notes. Thank you very much, Promasidor. And now we turn to the family. First of all, I'd like to invite the extended family of Professor Kenu and his adopted kids to make the first presentation. Members of the family and adopted kids, please make your presentation. Okay. Yes, please let's acknowledge them as they come forward. And last but certainly not least, we would like to invite the wife and children of Professor Kenu. He's told us that today is his 21st wedding anniversary, so this is special. So we'd like to invite them to come forward to present their gifts. Okay, thank you very much. Please, would like to thank all of those who presented gifts to our inaugural lecturer. We are drawing gradually to the end of this evening's event, and I would like to invite back here our Vice Chancellor, who is chairperson for today's event, Professor Nana Abba Apia Amfo, to deliver her closing remarks. A round of applause as she comes.
Thank you, Ms. Amsori. Distinguished colleagues, our honored guests, family and friends of our inaugural lecturer, ladies and gentlemen, I think you would agree with me that it's been a fascinating lecture as well as a thought-provoking one. Professor Kenu, on behalf of University of Ghana, I thank you for a lecture that was at once historical At least I learned that the first cholera case recorded in Ghana was in 1970. The lecture was historical, it was scientific, it was practical, and at the same time deeply relevant to our times. You've taken us on a journey spanning more than 5 decades, from the first documented cholera case in Ghana to COVID-19 pandemic and beyond, and reminded us that some of our greatest public health threats are often the ones that we cannot see. And so as we bring this ceremony to a close, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share some 5 lessons that I take away from this lecture and from the man himself. The first lesson is that disease thrives where systems fail. One of the most powerful arguments we heard tonight is that disease smuggling is not fundamentally a border problem. It's a systems problem. Cholera was not sustained by geography. COVID-19 was not sustained by international travel alone. After all, these diseases don't need passports, let alone visas to travel. But dealing with both diseases has exposed weaknesses in sanitation, in surveillance, in infection prevention, and public behavior. The pathogens may have arrived from elsewhere, but the conditions that allow them to spread and thrive are often homegrown. As Professor Kenu has reminded us, the most effective border post in public health may not be an airport checkpoint. It may be safe water, a functioning drainage system, and a vigilant community health worker. The second lesson for me is that prevention is far more powerful than repair. As we often say, prevention is better than, oh, you forgot that saying, prevention is better than, exactly. Now, I was particularly struck by the story of your professional journey, from the operating theater to public health. The question that emerged very early in your career, why repair what could have been prevented? And that appears to have shaped everything else that followed. Indeed, this lecture is ultimately a case for prevention. Whether through hand washing, sanitation, surveillance, or early detection, the message is clear. Societies that invest in prevention save lives, resources, and suffering. The third lesson is that small actions can have extraordinary consequences. One of the most striking messages from tonight's lecture is that public health is often won or lost through seemingly simple actions. A contaminated water source, an unwashed hand, a neglected drain. Conversely, a simple act of hand washing can interrupt entire chains of transmission and generate enormous health and economic benefits. Massive returns on investment, as we were told, better than anything that Wall Street can offer you. As I listened, I couldn't help but think of the story of Naaman in 2 Kings chapter 5 in the Bible. Faced with a serious illness, he expected a dramatic solution when he went to Elisha. Instead, he was asked to do something remarkably simple, to wash 7 times in the river Jordan. At first, he resisted because the solution seemed too ordinary. Yet it was precisely that simple act that brought about his healing. And I'm sure that as a Sunday school teacher and a preacher, Prof can identify very well with this. Sometimes we underestimate simple interventions because they lack drama. We love drama too much. So when it doesn't come with drama, we don't think that it's effective. Tonight's lecture reminds us that in public health, just as in life, the simplest actions are often the most transformative. Hand washing, safe water, proper sanitation, timely reporting, and good hygiene may not make headlines, but they save lives every single day. The fourth lesson is that data saves lives. Throughout Prof's work, from HIV surveillance to cholera investigations, from GIS-based COVID-19 tracking to outbreak response, he's demonstrated that timely, reliable evidence is one of the most important tools that we require in our public health responses. Data made available to the presidency ensured that our nation's COVID-19 response was responsible. The unseen cargo becomes visible only when systems are able to detect it. Good surveillance is not merely a technical exercise, it is indeed a public good. And the fifth lesson comes from the lecturer himself, and that is to never underestimate the power of mentorship and unexpected detours. One of the most memorable parts of tonight's lecture may not even be about cholera or COVID-19. It is the story of conversations. Conversations in hospital corridors, conversations in car parks, and with mentors who opened doors and changed directions. There was a slide that read, "Do not fear the detours." And this may well be the most important career advice many of our younger colleagues and students will take away from this lecture. Professor Kenu's journey reminds us that careers are hardly linear. Sometimes a conversation redirects a life. Sometimes a mentor sees something in you that you have not even recognized yourself. And sometimes what appears to be a detour turns out to be the main road. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, we are currently in the middle of a rainy season. Across our cities and communities, we see familiar scenes. Flooded communities, flooded streets, choked gutters, stagnant water, overflowing drains. After tonight, it should be impossible to view these merely as environmental inconveniences. They are real public health concerns. They are reminders that health security begins long before a patient arrives at a hospital, and each of us have a responsibility to uphold in ensuring that we are all safe and as much as possible free from ill health. The contribution of this lecture and this lecturer to Ghana, the sub-region and beyond is significant. And Prof, thanks for the mention and the commendation. Indeed, it was during the COVID-19 pandemic period that I got to know Professor Kenu, then Dr. Kenu. Those were the days that we constantly talked about quarantines, contact tracing, and monitoring. And as he mentioned, we worked together to ensure that the response as a university was effective and efficient. And all of this we did by phone, by email, by text messages, and so on. I think I only saw him in person way after the pandemic. And yet, we were an efficient team. He responded so rapidly, providing the needed direction and advice and the necessary updates. Prof, I thank you and commend you for your service to this community and beyond. This evening, we have seen the kind of scholarship that aligns strongly with the university's strategic priorities. It exemplifies our second strategic priority, which is impactful research. It also demonstrates the value of engagement and partnerships, which is our fourth strategic priorities. We have seen the work that he has delivered. It's not something that he did alone or even with colleagues from this institution alone. He's worked together with institutions, not just in this country, but literally across the world. He's also made contributions to our first strategic priority, which is a transformative student experience, through training and mentorships of hundreds of epidemiologists and public health professionals who continue to serve our country and our continent. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have not only celebrated an accomplished scholar and public health leader, we have engaged a body of work that strengthens our nation's preparedness, its resilience, and health security. Prof, you've given us so much knowledge tonight in such accessible language. Your football metaphor coming a day after a satisfying draw result from the Ghana Black Stars couldn't have been more appropriate. My only surprise there, though, was the coach, Coach Antimagi. Prof. Kenu, malaria doctor, Dr. 2, your lecture has done what the best inaugural lectures do. It's educated us, it has challenged us, and reminded us that scholarship matters most when it improves lives. Prof, we celebrate your scholarship, we celebrate your leadership, your mentorship, and your service to our community, to our nation, to our continent, and globally. We also celebrate with you and your wife as you mark your 21st year in marriage. Now, before I give you my final line, what I call my take-home line, I noted this evening that I've had the privilege of chairing a number of lecturers from members of the University of Ghana Medical School 2002 year group. And I think as a result of that, I deserve honorary membership of that group. And so, Provost, you are a member of that group. Ensure that that happens. Now, my final take-home line this evening from the lecture is, and I quote, "Honor the past by fixing the present." Honor the past by fixing the present. That is a collective responsibility for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, join me once again in congratulating our inaugural lecturer with a round of applause. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the clergy for showing up in your numbers. Thank you to our traditional leaders for coming so massively. We love it and we would like to see you again and again. Thank you all and have a very pleasant evening.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chancellor, for chairing this event successfully to a successful end. But before we go, we'd like to take note of the following announcements. If you turn with me to the inner back cover of your brochure, you see that we have shared with you a number of upcoming events to be held here at the University of Ghana. And the first one is that next week, Monday and Tuesday, the 29th and 30th of June, the university will be climaxing the 2026 Day of Scientific Renaissance of Africa, which we call the DSRA, with 2 different events. First, with the Career Pathways and Mentoring Program on Monday and Tuesday, 10 to 2 p.m. for Monday and 10 to 3 p.m. for Tuesday. And then later that afternoon, we will gather for a lecture and high-level panel discussion. I would like to extend a special invitation to all of you to join us. Next week, Wednesday, on the 1st of July, Professor Kenu will be hosted on the Research and Innovation Agenda on Radio Universe 105.7 FM, where he will throw more light or shed more light on his lecture today. And so I want to ask all of you to join us when he comes on Radio Universe 105.7 FM, proudly our campus radio station, for an interview at 9 a.m. on Thursday, the 1st of, on Wednesday, the 1st of July. Next week, we'll meet here again for yet another inaugural lecture, and this time to be delivered from the Department of Computer Science by Professor Isaac Wiafi. And the topic, very relevant and all of us should be interested in, why AI is irrelevant to Ghana, reclaiming our future through human-centered transformation. And this will happen here. I'm sure we are all curious to know why. So please, join us here next week at exactly 5 p.m. here at the Great Hall, and let's listen to what Professor Wiafi has to tell us about AI and everything concerning AI. And we also want you to note that on the 24th and 25th of July, we'll be holding congregation ceremonies here at the Great Hall. So thank you so much. We are grateful to all of you for joining us and for staying to celebrate Professor Ernest Kenu as he delivered his inaugural lecture this evening. I'll kindly ask you to join me to recognize and appreciate our colleagues from the Center for Disability Studies and Advocacy who gave us the sign language interpretation. So they are Mrs. Joyce Nyakwa Agbedoho and Mr. Martin Ata Nyameche. Thank you very much. To the order of refreshments, we'll kindly ask that after the university anthem and after the platform party has recessed, we would ask you, all of you, our invited guests, to move to the north wing of the Great Hall, where we'll have refreshments for you. All students, there's refreshments at the A Kwapon Quadrangle, which is being provided by Promasidor Ghana Limited for us. So please, let's visit the stand and have something to eat before you leave. So once again, thank you very much for being a part of this important university event. Please join us again for our other events when you see the announcements being made. Please rise for the university anthem.
University of Ghana, the nation's hope and glory, the place that bears the star of peace that bids us all to do our best living. Summer of learning is by both young and old. May we proceed in unity to uphold the public cause. Arise, O Labour, defend the cause of freedom. Proceed in truth and integrity to make our nation proud. Arise, O Legon, defend the cause of freedom. Proceed in truth and integrity to make our nation proud. We ask for strength and wisdom as we climb the hill of learning. May we excel in whatever we do as we prepare to face the world with them. Ready at all times and a conscious way to feel. May we proceed in unity to uphold the public cause. Arise, O Legon, defend the cause of freedom. Proceed in truth and integrity to make our nation proud. Arise, O Legon, defend the cause of freedom. Proceed in truth and integrity to make our nation proud. Arise, O Legon, defend the cause of freedom. Proceed in truth and integrity to make our nation proud. Arise, O Legon, defend truth and integrity to make our nation proud.
We remain standing as the platform party recesses.